On here, we've talked about markets and financials quite a lot. All sorts of arcane and chaotic yet elegant systems that fuel our modern economy. It would seem that we should know something as simple as what the dollar is. But what if I told you that there's an imposter, a bizarre doppelganger of the dollar just under our noses, splashing around global markets yet strangely hidden? This is the story of the other dollar, one that runs right through the heart of the global economy, the vital force of globalization itself. This is the story of the very strange case of the Eurodollar. It was 1945, and the Second World War had come to an explosive and decisive end. Amidst the juxtaposed jubilation of peace and the abject horror of destruction, the West's victors now began to turn to building a new order. 1 year prior, the Bretton Woods system had been unveiled, setting the framework for a new monetary order. And in 1948, the Marshall Plan was underway, as the United States set out building a new post-war Europe. And as the spoils go to the victor, it was clear that this was to be an Anglo-American economic order. And with these new systems being built, a strange set of curiosities occurred. The United States had just emerged from an enormous military build-out, suddenly with no place for that industry to go. And Great Britain had been pummeled by constant warfare. And yet, the United States saw none of that post-war inflation that one would expect. And in the United Kingdom, the City of London was right back up and running. As the years rolled forward into the 1950s and 60s, the United States saw an unparalleled period of prosperity, while across the Atlantic, the United Kingdom began its period of consensus. So with such fantastical outcomes, what was the system that was built? What was that new financial order? Well, it's the same one that we're in now, and I would like to introduce you to its currency. So where do new dollars come from? Well, there's the really big printer, and that makes all of them. Okay, well that makes banknotes, but where do dollars come from? Functionally, the post-war financial order runs on credit. Credit makes dollars. So, in theory, it should be something like this. A bank holds US treasuries in its reserves, and then it lends out dollars. And if you ever look up what a Eurodollar is, it will say that it's something like demand for US dollar denominated loans issued by foreign banks holding US treasuries. And following the Second World War, it was first banks in London that got the ability to do this. They hold US treasuries in their reserves, and then lend out US dollars. So it's making new dollars offshore. And the supply of US treasuries has expanded greatly ever since the Second World War. But those foreign banks started making a whole lot more loans. They kept rehypothecating and rehypothecating and rehypothecating far beyond their reserves and far beyond any collateral. This is taken from the Federal Reserve Monthly Review in November of 1960. In recent years, a broad and active market for dollar deposits has emerged in Europe. In this market, generally referred to as the continental or Eurodollar market, European and other foreign banks place and accept for varying time periods deposits held at banks in the United States. The banks accepting such deposits employ them for various types of loans and investments, either in the form of dollars or other currencies. The attractiveness of this market for dollar deposits partly derives from the fact that interest rates paid by foreign banks have generally been higher than those paid by United States banks on time deposits, or obtainable on money market instruments of similar maturity in New York. In addition, European banks offer interest on call and very short-dated deposits, a practice that is forbidden by law in the United States. Any estimate of the volume of dollar deposits placed in the market rests on tenuous grounds, but the total is believed to exceed 1 billion, since many European banks that obtain dollar deposits in this market redeposit these funds with other banks. The overall volume of the dollar interbank deposit claims outstanding abroad may well be a multiple of the amount cited above. And then it ends by saying a market of this size and scope warrants examination, because of its implications. So, you see what they're getting at is a European bank has some treasuries and reserves, and is able to offer very attractive lending rates since dollar rates are lower, and makes an absolutely gargantuan amount of loans, a total amount we have absolutely no idea of, with nowhere near the amount of treasuries for all of that, and in the process, makes an absolutely insane amount of US dollars out of nothing. Not the Federal Reserve, not US banks, a bunch of European banks make an insane amount of nonsense dollars. And it turns out that this system gets you very rich. Well, not Americans, but the other guys doing it. So it went across the entire world. Over time, it stopped being some City of London banks lending to Londoners. This system of artificially low interest rate US dollar loans became globalization itself. Enormous industry and cities went up across the entire world as these global European banks made US dollar loans cheap and widely available for the entire planet. Following World War II, this system hadn't quite emerged. But as we get into the 40s and 50s, we start seeing these Eurobanks emerge, lending these offshore Eurodollars. And they spread into their former colonial territories where they still had a strong financial footprint, and spread. And as those countries and banks got richer, they spread more, and got richer and spread more. And everyone binged on cheap Eurodollars. And the more the world globalized, the more the Eurodollar financial system conquered the whole world. But what's the problem? Everyone got rich, there was enormous prosperity. And that's true. But rates used to only go down. And then they stopped going down. So say you're an Indian businessman using I'll say it, British bank. Yep, Britain has never stopped trying to dig its way in there. You go to one of these global banks and you want a loan. You can either get a very high interest rate on a rupee loan, or a really low interest rate on a dollar loan, so you proceed to get the dollar loan. It's floating rate debt, and rates are pretty low, and you think they'll probably go even lower. So you are cooking, and you start setting up your business. And you're getting pretty cheap debt, so you're able to grow this business. You're doing great. And it comes time to pay back your debt, and now you have a pretty large business paying you quite a lot of rupees. So you take those rupees you've made from your business, into the currency market it goes, and the bank now has its dollars paid back, and you are getting very rich. So you take out another loan, a nice low interest rate Eurodollar loan, and boom, you have made a lot more rupees, and you are even richer. And this is just one business guy. This is happening across the entire planet, and you would expect to see a whole lot of people and a whole lot of countries getting really, really rich really fast. And that's exactly what happened. These same US dollar loans across the entire planet, getting everyone enormously wealthy. So you're like the coolest guy ever. You have an enormous business empire now. You won. You beat the whole game. There is nothing that could possibly screw this up. But what happens if interest rates went up on your floating rate debt? Well, now you have to pay back more dollars. Okay, I guess you can manage that. It's just you're going to be less profitable, so you take more rupees and the US dollar's strengthening. So actually you need even more rupees to pay off this loan. And pretty soon you can't pay back those loans. You have to pay back more dollars, and you need more rupees to get the same dollars, so you need more rupees, and the business doesn't work anymore. And pretty soon, you miss an interest payment. And then, you default. And that's pretty rough for that one Eurobank because you were a big customer. But, oh no, this is systemic. This is happening to all of the bank's customers. Now that bank is failing. And that's happening to everyone in the region. Now all the banks in the region are failing. So now that's a problem of all of the banks in the country. And now it's a problem for the entire banking system. And now it's the world's problem. And that's sort of the main risk with the Eurodollar system. But hold on, how are these loans so cheap to begin with? LIBOR! The London Interbank Offered Rate. And that's what all those US dollar loans that create US dollars are benchmarked to. And who sets LIBOR? Well, the LIBOR Committee. London decides the rate at which US dollars are made. And it's based on whatever the banks say it is. They just say what the rate is. No one can check, really, because it's by survey. And that's what new dollars are made of. This sounds like the most ridiculous, obvious problem ever. So we addressed it. Turns out, some people in the United States got kind of sick of foreign banks deciding at what rate new dollars get made. So we replaced it. With what? SOFR! The secured overnight funding rate, which is based on actual rates that are happening in the United States. And by switching to an actual rate based on funds that are actually secured by US Treasuries in the United States, well, that sure took a whole lot of power to manipulate away from London. Oh no, perfectly above board, I assure you. Oh, bruv, yeah, you got... oh no, he's state school educated. And I'm here as well, and I don't ken none of that. So just to sum up what the global financial system is, it's foreign banks making US dollar loans with vastly insufficient US Treasury reserves in countries that use other currencies and just rehypothecating that over and over and over and over and over at artificially low interest rates. And this is the financial system for the entire planet. It isn't US dollars that the global economy runs on. It's Eurodollars. It's a parallel US dollar that isn't quite the same thing as the dollar that's in the United States. And probably it'll just go on forever and be absolutely fine, and there's no problem with any of those obvious problems. I'm sure that there's nothing wrong with what is obviously wrong, and the thing that is breaking down is not breaking down. So that's what it is. So I hope you can do something with that knowledge, and subscribe if you want to see more. Until then, good night.